Today is a great celebration for us. It's our 5th anniversary. We look back in time and we see Jesus. We look in the present and we see Jesus. How about the future? You know by now that the answer, we see Jesus. He is everything. And actually that was during our first meeting, this was my message. And I kept repeating that this church is not about us, it's about Him, it's about Jesus. If you think it's about you, then you're wrong. I'm wrong, everybody's wrong, because it's about Him. This Friday, our principal at school gave us a short devotional from Joshua 5, and since then my whole sermon changed for today. So today I will invite you to come with me in Joshua 5, because I was so convicted, I was so impressed by this word that I thought I cannot do anything else but preach it. So until you find Joshua chapter 5 verse 13 and on, I'll give you a little bit of background. Joshua was at Jericho with Jericho in mind. This is why when you read verse 13 is when Joshua was by Jericho. Actually, the word there is in Jericho, but he was outside. So how he was outside when he was in? Physically, he was outside. He was looking for a strategy how to win the battle, to conquer the city, but in Jericho with his mind. He had Jericho, he was thinking of a strategy how to capture this city, and probably he thought this city was too big to be conquered, and actually was. After 30 years in thinking of what will happen in the future, 10 more years and a lot of deaths, you see they came to this point where their army was more of Bedouins, not soldiers. He was a general, but Jericho was beyond his pay grade. God had dried up the flooded Jordan River and they crossed over on dry ground. For sure, that was a miracle. It was almost like the crossing of the Red Sea. But this was a river, and God had stopped that river, we don't know where, but kilometers upstream, maybe 20 or 40 kilometers, since the priest stepped into the river and the water was over. But now things are different. It's not a river. It's the biggest and heavily armed city of Canaan. He knows this because years ago he was there. He scouted this area. Surrounded by young men, all born in the desert, now he was here. The biggest step in conquering Canaan. He felt alone. He was alone. He felt discouraged. Although God encouraged him several times in the past, he was so discouraged. His lieutenants asked him about the strategy, and probably he said, God will take care, like Abraham. God will take care of this. God will provide. He always does. But now inspecting the walls of Jericho, that seemed to be more than impossible. It was the biggest victory of all, or the biggest failure of all times. And he was the general. Now you understand him, why he was there. Thinking about these thoughts, looking down, Joshua remembered his name, God saves. Where is God now? Well, Joshua, don't look down. Why I'm saying this? Because look, verse 13. I hope you are there. Joshua 5, verse 13. When Joshua was by Jericho, he lifted up his eyes and looked. That means if he lifted up his eyes, that means his eyes were down. He was looking down. He was looking for a solution. And probably he was scared. He was despaired. He didn't know what to do. Well, Joshua, don't look down. Your eyes are used too much to look down. The word eyes actually in Hebrew means also have a second meaning as spring, or an eye, our eye, or a spring. So I thought, his eyes, like his soul spring, started to bubble out negative thoughts. But I think if we will read the whole text, and don't stop on verse 15. We will go further in chapter 6, so follow me. After 5 years of B1, let's see what we miss looking down whenever we look down. 5 things we miss when we look down, not up. So, but let's read first the text. When Joshua was by Jericho, he lifted up his eyes and looked. And behold, a man was standing before him with his drawn sword in his hand. And Joshua went to him and he said, and said to him, "Are you for us or for our adversary?" And he said, "No, but I am the commander of the army of the Lord. Now I have come." And Joshua fell on his face to the earth and worshipped and said to him, "What does my Lord say to his servant?" And the commander of the Lord's army said to Joshua, "Take off your sandals from your feet, for the place where you are standing is holy." And Joshua did so. Now Jericho was shut up inside and outside because of the people of Israel. None went out and none came in. And the Lord said to Joshua, "See, I have given Jericho in your hands, with its king and mighty men of valor, like heroes." They had their own heroes. "You shall march around the city, all the men of war going around the city once. Thus shall you do for 6 days. 7 priests shall bear 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the ark. On the 7th day you shall march around the city 7 times, and the priests shall blow the trumpets. And when they make a long blast with the ram's horn, when you hear the sound of the trumpet, then all the people shall shout with a great shout, and the wall of the city will fall down flat. And the people shall go up, everyone straight before him." This was the word of the Lord. Lord, we thank you so much for this word of encouragement. Sometimes we are looking down so much that we don't know how bound to this earth we are. But we thank you for this challenge. And we thank you that you are with us. You are God with us. You are Emmanuel. And this is why we ask you to touch our souls and let us understand this text and sink in this text, to understand it and also live by it. And we praise your name in Jesus' precious name. Amen. Well, the topic for today, the title of my sermon is "Stop Looking Down." Easy to remember, okay? Stop looking down. Why? Because Joshua was looking down and he lifted up his eyes, and behold, surprise, a man was standing, and he started to talk with this man. Why stop looking down? Because God is ready and engaged. This is what you miss when you are looking down. You don't see God. Every time we have, remember the question of every Sunday, God at work. Have you seen God at work somewhere in your life during this week? Well, if you look down, you can't see God. You are not able to see Him, because every time when you look and you see God, He's always ready and He is engaged. He's doing something. God is at work already. Joshua saw a man standing with his drawn sword in his hand. He was ready, and Joshua thought, what should I do? But how he know that he knew that he was God? Because he identified himself as the commander of the army of Yahweh. Joshua gave him the due respect. But he realized that this is a superior being and more than a created angel, like an angel of superior rank. He realized that that man was the angel of the Lord. One equal with God. And this is why he worshipped him. The one who was the visible revealer of the invisible God. By now, we are talking about Jesus Christ in his pre-incarnate state. For us today, it's so easy to identify this person, but for him was because we know the scriptures. The one talking with Joshua was the Son of God, the one who we call Jesus of Nazareth in the New Testament. He was a heavenly warrior because he had his sword drawn and he was ready for the battle. God stood right before Joshua. He was right there. He could even touch him, but he didn't. God was not a voice somewhere in the clouds or a voice in his head. God was standing right there, not absent, not distant, and he was ready. This is not a vision. If you read again, then you'll see that Joshua took some steps toward this man. So it's not a vision. It's something real. It happened. And he asked that person, "Are you with us or against us?" And the answer was, "Neither." What? Two options. It's so hard to answer. No, there is a third option. What's that option? I'm the commander of Yahweh's hosts. I have my own agenda. I'm not here to fight against you or with you. I'm here to fight God's fight, God's war. When you stop looking down, you will see God already at work, ready and engaged. If you want to stop his agenda, well, that's not possible. But if you want to hop in his agenda, you are welcome. But don't try to bring God in your agenda. Look, God, I want to do this, bless this, and let's go. And B1 needs to know this. B1, it's about God. B1, it's not about us. This church is not about me. We are called to follow God's agenda, not our own. We are called to believe what God says, to have interest in what God has, and to do what God wants us to do. In one word, God is number one here. Our church name is B1. Well, God is number one. Where B1 is, God is number one. Battles just don't disappear, but God is with us every moment, in every battle, in every struggle, and also in every opportunity. But not just with us, but with us to fight and to help us. And he's actually waging his war, and he's inviting us. Come on. Well, when I say war, it's not just, war, but in his work. God is already here. He's real. He's ready. He's engaged. But the question is, am I? I'm ready. I'm engaged. Or you? Are you? Are you engaged? Are you ready? Are you ready to hop in God's plan and say, yeah, I want this 100%. I am looking first for this, and then if I have more time, I will look into some other things. Well, we are not doing this every time. Why? Because we are looking down. When you look down, you miss this. God is ready. God is engaged. But also in verse 14, you see God is in charge. God is in charge. From the beginning of this church, we've said that this church is about God and not about us. And I believe that B1 is not a success story. This is what I really believe. It's not a success story. It's an obedience and surrender story. And when you see God ruling in heavens as He's ruling on earth, the whole perspective will change. When the angel of the Lord he identified himself as the commander of army of Yahweh, of the Lord, he talked about armies of angels. But also he talked about leadership. I am the commander. I am leading. The word used here means chief, ruler, leader, or leader of a military group. The angels are under his command. That means he is in charge. Are you with us or against us? No. No. But I am the commander of the army of the Lord. Now I have come. Well, I wonder, when I read this passage, I thought, why the angel of the Lord? He said, now I have come. And then I realized, he's interrupted. Joshua interrupted him. The continuation of this sentence or the thought is in chapter 6, verse 2. And the Lord said to Joshua, see, I have given Jericho in your hand. So, what happened is, the explanation of the visit was interrupted by Joshua and his comment. What does my Lord say to his servant? And God is already in action. He is about to share the plan, and Joshua interrupts him with his reference and his words. God was ready for action. Joshua was ready for reverence. Sometimes it's better to keep your mouth shut and listen more. And listen what God says. Well, at least in Joshua's situation, it was better off for him to be silent and let the Lord finish his thought. Too often we are ready to tell God what to do, and we are not ready to listen to his voice. Lord, talk to me. And God says, I am, but you have interrupted me. You are not listening. Lord, show me this. And God says, yeah, I am, but you are too blind to see. Lord, bless my plans. Well, I want to, but hey, follow my directions. Lord, let's do this. Lord, how about this? Lord, when we will do this? If we would be silent for a period of time to get what Jesus wants us to do, we would be better off. Note that there are no angels in heaven offering their advice to God. Like, Lord, how about this idea? There is no angel saying this. But you know what? We are doing it. Right? Or maybe not you, but I am. Sometimes I look at myself and what are you doing? You give advice to God? Who are you? But sometimes, oh Lord, how about this? And how about that? And God is already doing something and we interrupt him because we are not patient. Everybody listens in heaven. Even Satan. When God speaks, Satan listens, and then when God asks, Satan's answer. Sometimes when he speaks to us, oh Lord, I have an idea, a good idea. How about this? And we are like him. We are like Joshua. When was the last time when you really listened what God was trying to convey to you, to tell you? Remember when you've heard the same thing twice? God told you something, and then he told you the second time. Why? Probably you've interrupted him. And when you are looking down, and I'm looking down, I miss this chance to understand what God wants from me. Now, in verse 15, it's even better. God is different. So, just stop looking down because you missed this. God is different, and you should treat him different or special. Look in verse 15. And the commander of the Lord's army said to Joshua, take off your sandals from your feet, For the place you are here, you are standing, is holy, is different. Oh, by the way, because you interrupted me, know that this place is holy, is different. What holy means is different, special, or set apart for a special purpose. Why that place was holy? Because God said this place is holy. Why? Because He was there. Because He was there. It's so interesting that sometimes even us, we think that it's the place where we gather for worship, or our own place where we worship, is so common, and it doesn't matter how it looks like. And this is the reason we change the look of this place, because this is the holy place. Indeed, it is. In this situation, God asked Joshua to take his sandals off from his feet. For sure, this command reminded Joshua of something. Do you know what, right? Of what? Moses, right? Moses and the burning bush. Same situation. That implied that the same person who talked to Moses in that place was the same person talking to him in this place, in Jericho, near Jericho. Even in this little aspect of, the place of their encounter, God insists on being number one. Take off your sandals. This place is holy. I am here. I'm number one. You are not. I'm the leader. You are not. When God is in charge, the place where the encounter takes place becomes holy, different, and uncommon. Yeah, in the East, actually, there is a custom of taking the sandals off when you visit someone. We also have it in Romania, right? When you go to visiting someone, you take off your shoes. It's a matter of respect. You don't want to bring the dust from outside to defile that house. This is the meaning, actually. And it's not just because of us, but it's... And I think it has something interesting in this. Joshua was visiting God. Moses was visiting God. But actually, if you think, from their perspective, God was visiting them. But actually it was the upside down, the other way around. When God is special to you, you treat not just Him special, but you treat that place special. Because that place is special, it is uncommon, it's holy. We've just worshiped God through these elements. Okay, let me see. Okay. In Corinth, they were so used with these two elements. And they were, some of them they were drunk, some of them they were okay. They were happy after they were, going home. And some of them they were like, oh, what happened? I missed the wine, I missed the bread, what is going on? So for them, the Lord's Supper was not holy, was not different, was common. Like, yeah, sure, let's eat that bread, let's drink that wine. I need one more glass, please. That's right, And Paul said, no, wait. Consider this holy, different. It's not a common meal, it's an uncommon meal. The same situation here with the place. This is a holy place. Joshua, take off your sandals. Just for the sake of a small reminder, and to understand how the conversation went after this point, I dare to challenge you to take your sandals off. I mean it. How about this? This place is holy. God is here. And I dare you to stay barefoot until this service ends. Unprotected. When we wear this, we protect ourselves of dust, right? How about this? Just to feel how it is to pay respect God, even in small things. Let's do this. I know, you didn't see that coming, but this is the second one. Please. I know, it's not about the smell, okay? We're okay, we're a family. But God said, and He told him, take off your shoes. Stay with me here. If you visit me, these are my conditions. This is the place where you are interrupted by God, not the place where you interrupt God. And by the way, Joshua, because you interrupted me, take off your shoes. How about this? If God will ask us every time when we interrupt Him, He would ask us to take off our shoes. How many times per day we do that? Probably we'll walk barefoot and people would start asking, what are you doing? Well, because of this. Now you really feel how Joshua felt. And look in chapter 6, the first 5 verses. It's about God's plan. God gave him, now he's able to understand God's plan barefoot. With this interesting reminder that this place is uncommon, please follow the conversation between God and Joshua and learn. God's plan for them was to march around the city for 6 days in silence. So how about an entire service? You come to church and the whole service is in silence and we move around. It's like, what? Really? No, we are not doing it, okay? We're not going to do it. That was enough. But he said, okay, you will go around the city 1 time per day. Silence. But the 7th day, you go around 7 times. And the horns will blow. And then all of you will shout. And you know what? When you will do this, all the walls will fall down. How about this strategy? Joshua, the general, didn't thought about that. That was not in his plan. You see here order and clarity and strategy and sequence, but the plan was just to wait until the 7th day when God will do something, not their shout. I mean, that was it. And probably God said, yeah, that was it. Nothing more? No. Well, that looks more like a parade. It's a religious procession. They had also the Ark of the Covenant. Then it's not in this way you conquer a city. Indeed. But this was God's plan. Every morning, early in the morning, the entire nation practiced the marching around the city because the 7th day was coming. The 7th day was coming when that was the D-Day. To go around 7 times and to be proficient. So you go day by day, doing the same thing. 6 days, you become proficient. And then 7th day, boom, the breakout. I know the feeling. At ICSV, we have fire drills at school and lockdowns, drills every month. And we prepare for the time when our lives will depend on how fast we will move, when that will really happen. And I know this from our experience. For 5 years at B1 here, we do the same thing over and over again. Do you know what I'm talking about, right? Have any idea? Well, Sunday service, small groups, reload. Next week, Sunday service, small groups, and then reload. Why? Why we do this? Why? Next week we do the same thing. In this way, time we become better and better in leading music, in preaching the word, changing the slides, having a quality sound, cleaning the home, inviting the feedback, involving in the feedback groups, inviting people, praying, loving each other, being vulnerable during the small groups, asking good questions, praying one another. Every Sunday and every week during the small group, we are doing the same things. Why? 6 days. But the 7th day, God will work. God will move in. Why would we have a worship team when sometimes we are just 10 people here? Good question, huh? Half of the people are right there on this. Why? Why would we attend the small groups when there are the same persons there? Why would we invite people to church when they see a small congregation and they hit the road and they said, I'm not coming back. This is. Why worship team practice every Sunday before the service? 3 to 4:30. They're here every Sunday. Why? Why we are doing? We are small. That's why? Why should I be a leader when there is no one to lead, to be led? In my team, I don't have a team. I'm alone. Because God planned a 7th day when the walls will fall down flat. I don't know that day, but it's somewhere in the future. And I'm looking forward for that day when all the walls will fall down flat. It's about God. It's not about us. I would come with a better plan. God's plan was the best. When the day will come and this place will be full of people who want to know God more, love Him more, and serve Him more, the walls will fall down flat and the next part of our dream will come true. To plant another church. That would be God's victory, not ours. So how you will be an international church? We don't know. But that's our dream. How you will plant a new church? We have no idea. You see? You do the same thing. Why? Because God says so. It will come a day, a time, when He will be glorified, not us. It's not our glory, it's His glory. And I told you there are 5 things. Oh, I didn't. Yeah, 5 things, because this is, our 5th anniversary. How nice. Have a sermon with 5 points. Yeah. God expects something of you. That's the last one. Look in the verse 5. Chapter 6, verse 5. And when they make a long blast with the ram's horn, when you hear the sound of the trumpet, then all the people shall shout with a great shout, and the wall of the city will fall down flat, and the people shall go up, everyone straight before him. Everyone straight before him. God's strategy was very interesting. The people will go in the city through the fallen walls, not by the gate. The gate was the weakest part of the defense mechanism of a city and was well protected, not the walls. But God said, no. I have a surprise here. The walls will fall down and you will go up. And by the way, you know how the falls went down? Down toward them. And actually I was there at Jericho. and you can see the walls down. And you, from down, you will go up in the city, like a ramp. God created a natural ramp for them to conquer that city. That was his plan. Something made me think of God's plan. His expectation was that each one of them to do something. Each one of them. The plan included them all. Men and women, young and old, crippled and athletes, educated and uneducated, sick and healthy, small and tall, each one of them, straight before them, the plan was to go in the city and take the city. They all are involved in the victory that God offered it as a gift. And actually it was a gift to them. They all were involved in the victory that God made it possible. Now, how this would be translated here? Well, first of all, there are no spectators in this church, but active participants. Without me, the church can succeed. Wow, yeah, it can. My reason to come here is to give, not to receive. Things like that. It's your part too. Remember, it's what God expects. It's not the pastors or the church or the vision expectation. It's what God expects each one of us to do something. If you want this city, I'm not talking about the Jericho now, but I'm talking about Vienna. If you want this city to be conquered for Christ, each one of us are expected to do something. Well, when we look down, we see just disengagement, lack of vision, same old, it's not going to work. Why it's all about me doing something? This is when you look down. But when you look up, behold, Jesus is ready and engaged. Behold, Jesus is in charge. Behold, Jesus is different and you treat him differently. Behold, Jesus' plan is the best. Behold, Jesus expects something of you. For the next year, until like February 2021, where do we want to look? Down or up? When you look down, it's all about you. When you look up, it's all about God. When you look down, everything is small and ugly. When you look up, it's only God. A really big God who is able. And he's inviting you to join him.